I've been getting some funny looks from my neighbors lately, and that's because I've been using a robot to cut my grass. EcoFlow's latest innovation, the Blade Robot Lawn Mower, has arrived. This little machine not only cuts grass, but also collects debris like leaves and grass clippings. I've really been wanting to try out a robot lawnmower over the past few years. They look awesome, but how well do they actually work in a real person's, an average person's yard like mine? That's what we're gonna find out today, and we're lucky enough to find out using this brand new state-of-the-art EcoFlow Blade. Let's go. Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. If this is your first time here, my name is Shane, and this channel is all about building an easy Apple home, smart home, with new videos published every Sunday and live streams every Wednesday. Now, first of all, this EcoFlow Blade does not support Apple home lawnmowers or even robot vacuums. At this point, are not a supported product category in HomeKit, so there aren't any out there that do support Apple Home, unfortunately. Nonetheless, I was super excited to try out one of these for myself. I do have some ideas on how I can integrate this with my smart home, my Apple Home smart home, assuming it works well at cutting the grass first, but we'll get to that later. EcoFlow is a company probably more well known for their smart energy and power devices. They've released this new automated lawnmower, the Blade. Now, big thank you to EcoFlow for sending me this so that I could test it out and share it with you here on the channel. Full disclosure, I did not pay for this. It was sent to me for free so that I could test it out and share it with you, but there are no strings attached. You'll get my honest, take on this. As always, just want to be upfront about that. Now, as far as I'm aware, this is the first smart robot lawnmower that also has a lawn sweeping capability. So this thing can sweep the lawn and collect leaves and sticks, things like that. But there are some caveats to that, which we'll cover in a minute. And it's not cheap at the time, going for $2,899 US. Now that's just for the lawnmower alone. If you want the mower plus the sweeping kit, you're looking at about $3,200 US. Again, at the time of this recording. So today we're definitely going to be getting a newbie's perspective on this. I've never used a robot lawnmower before, but again, always wondered how one of these would do in, just an average yard like mine. My yard is decent, not a whole lot of weeds and stuff like that, but certainly not the best lawn in the neighborhood. I'm not one of those who loves to spend a whole ton of time out there making everything just perfect. I do have some small slopes and things like that, especially in the backyard, but nothing that I thought was too crazy for something like this to handle. So let's take a look. The mower itself comes fully assembled, and I mean, just look at this thing. It is pretty badass looking. It's fairly small, but very solid, weighing at just over 35 pounds. Assembly is very straightforward, and there are some good step-by-step instructions in the app as well. Just plug in the charging base to an outlet. That's going to be the A1 cable. Then plug in the B1 cable, which is the cord that goes to the GPS antenna. I downloaded the EcoFlow app and it automatically detected the Blade via Bluetooth. Once connected, I could go into the beginner's guide that shows how to set everything up, which I've kind of already done. I then got a pop-up saying that there is a firmware update available. So I updated the device. You can connect the mower to Wi-Fi here and let it update over Wi-Fi, which is nice because this update did take a little while. Then once done, I can continue with the setup process. Next, I had to go find a good location for the satellite antenna. I'm just kind of walking around the yard, staring at my phone, looking for a decent signal. Once you find one, stick the antenna into the ground. The next step is to practice controlling the mower manually, so you can kind of move it around like a little remote control car. Then you need to find a good location with a decent satellite signal for the charging station. Once you find one, you are instructed to secure the charging station in this location with the provided nails. Then it's time to create a map. So this is one of the big selling points, I think, of this mower. You can create a virtual map, basically, instead of installing something like boundary wires all around the yard, which is what's required from most other robot lawnmowers. So to do this, I just had to manually operate the mower and trace out the boundary of my yard. Then you can create restricted zones. So I added one of these for the trampoline area, and that's really it for the setup. At the time of recording, you can create 2 mapping areas and connect them with a path that the mower will use to get from one area to the other. I'm told that by the end of June, this will be updated to support up to 5 mapping areas, which I'm really looking forward to. So I have a fenced in backyard. I also have a driveway that splits my front yard into 2. So I'd really like to be able to set up 3 separate mowing areas, which again, I should be able to do once that update comes in June. I tested this mower out for a few weeks, probably a month or so at least. I did move the whole charging unit a couple of times, mapped and remapped the front yard and the backyard numerous times as well. I tried out the sweeping device. First on the front yard, I actually thought I could use this while mowing and it would collect the grass clippings and the debris and stuff while it was mowing. That is not the case. It's either one or the other. So if it's mowing, it's not sweeping, and vice versa. Then I tested the sweeping module out in the backyard. I did have some areas with a decent amount of leaves, so I thought this would be a good test. For me, the sweeping module just did not work very well in the backyard. I think I have too much dirt and stuff like that, so it actually collected way more stuff than I wanted it to, including lots of loose grass and dirt, which led to the bag filling up very quickly. I think if you have a really nice yard with thick grass and without any areas like this, you know, like I had in my yard, it would probably do a lot better. Just know that if there is a ton of stuff to sweep up, the bag will probably fill up pretty quickly. Now in my front yard, I have just one tree, so I'm kind of looking forward to fall coming around and seeing how well this does just at like sweeping up the leaves and stuff in the front yard. I think it'll do a lot better in the front yard. I wish I could like send this to just a certain area to sweep instead of having it do the whole backyard, because again, that's where it was getting a lot of that dirt and stuff in those dry patches, but unfortunately you can't do that. So let's go ahead and cover some of the other features, and then I'll finish with just my overall thoughts and opinions after using this thing here for a while and for the first time, my first robot lawnmower. Again, the virtual map is really great. Love that I don't need to set, boundary wires manually around the yard. The lines are actually probably much straighter than when I cut the grass myself with a push mower. The mower features obstacle avoidance thanks to something EcoFlow calls X-Vision. This uses a combination of LiDAR, a camera, and RTK, which stands for real-time kinematic. RTK is basically a really precise GPS. So they claim the blade recognizes objects such as flowers, pools, and other obstacles and avoids them using this X-Vision technology. This is also supposed to help the mower recognize things to avoid getting stuck. I tested this out a little bit by throwing some things into the yard that weren't on the map, and it did seem to do a pretty good job at avoiding them most of the time. And one of the most noticeable things to me on this mower was the wheels. It has what they call omnidirectional front wheels that help it overcome obstacles and allow it to turn very sharply, so these wheels kind of move in like all directions. Pretty interesting. It also has these cool all-terrain looking back tires or back wheels. Apparently these wheels give the blade a higher maximum obstacle height than traditional robot lawnmowers. It does have a 10-inch cutting width. It has an IPX5 water resistant rating, which means you can clean it, with the hose or something. Don't have to worry about rain and stuff like that getting it wet. It also has a rain sensor built into the top, and it will stop mowing and return to the dock when, it detects rain or water. The blade has 4G and eSIM built into it as an anti-theft feature, so you can accurately track it if someone steals it. Noise level is no higher than 62 decibels, according to EcoFlow. I didn't test this out, but it is pretty quiet. You could probably even run this at night or something like that while you're sleeping if you wanted to. It can cut up to 3,000 square meters, which is over 3,200 square feet. Battery life when fully charged should last about 4 hours, and to fully recharge it should take about 2 hours. It has manual buttons for resuming a job or returning to the dock, and there is also this big red emergency stop button on the top. In the app, you can share the device with other accounts, maybe family members in your house, things like that. You can see logs of past jobs, create automation schedules, adjust the volume and the lights of the mower. So it does have like a speaking voice on it that talks to you when, you change settings and things like that. There is a child safety lock, which disables the manual buttons on the device. You can adjust the cut height and also the speed. One really cool thing worth noting is the support and warranty that you get with one of these. You get a dedicated service team before and after your purchase. You get a 4-year warranty and lifetime free replacement on accessories, which include cables and other parts that might wear out. over time. So that's pretty cool. So what has my experience been? Who exactly is this for? I think the success of something like this is going to greatly depend on your specific circumstances or your yard. As mentioned, I do have a fenced-in backyard. I have a dog, which means I can't just let this thing run on automations all the time, without picking up after the dog first. I also, as you see, don't have a perfect yard by any means. The biggest issue for me was probably the area by the trampoline in the backyard. There's that little slope over there on that side of the yard. Again, it's nothing too crazy, and I did think the lawnmower would be able to handle it, especially with those tough looking tires, but it did get stuck over there on that side of the yard quite a lot. I tried to make the mapping area really wide to go around that trampoline, but it never really seemed to be enough, and it just continued to get stuck over there on that side of the yard. I also noticed that if you have dry areas with loose grass or dirt like I do around the trampoline where the grass isn't growing very well, that could also be a problem. The tires will just kind of spin in the dirt and don't have enough traction, to keep the mower going, and it'll get stuck. Those tires could also potentially tear up your grass a little bit too if it gets stuck spinning out like that in certain areas. I did see a recent update to the firmware that said a number of issues were resolved, including one where the wheels would spin out like that. Now, I haven't really been able to test this much in that area since that update because I moved the mower to the front of the yard since then. But that is something to consider. This is a very new product, so there's likely to be some issues and things like that. And I expect them to keep rolling out firmware updates like this to continue to improve the performance. Again, they've been updating this pretty regularly since I've been using it. The mower did do a lot better in the front yard where I don't have those issues like I do in my backyard. I've been using mine primarily in the front yard for the last couple of weeks. Again, since I can only have 2 mapping areas for now, I have each side of the front yard mapped separately with a path connecting one to the other across the driveway. Now, once we get that update expected in late June, again, I should be able to add a 3rd mapped area in the backyard, since we'll be able to create up to 5 mapping areas with that update. You can make the mower cut only one area at a time, or all of your mapped areas at once. Another thing that June update will bring is push notifications to the app. Unfortunately, the push notification feature was not working for me during the testing period, and that's because I got it early before the official launch. But getting push notifications on your phone through the app will be a very welcome addition, so I'm looking forward to that update. You'll get notifications when a job is completed or if the mower gets stuck. During my testing, I just had to kind of keep watching it or keep popping my head outside to make sure it wasn't getting stuck. Overall, this thing is pretty amazing. I was certainly nerding out a few times just being able to sit back, relax, and watch this thing mow my lawn. That said, it's really not for everyone. I think it's best for people with really nice lawns with good grass already. If you have hills or slopes at all, or patches with little grass or dirt like I have in some areas, then you'll probably run into some issues. But if you have a really nice even yard, especially with thick grass or sod, then this probably would work really well for you. I love not needing to install boundary wires, but being able to find a proper place for the GPS antenna could also be a little bit frustrating. At one point, I tried to relocate the mower and the charging base to the side of my yard so I could, create automations to cut the front yard without having to open my back gate all the time. I tried many times and I just could not get a good enough GPS signal to keep it on the side of my house. So that's a factor, you'll want to keep in mind. You'll need an open area where you can place the satellite antenna and ideally the charging base as well. It's not really a plug and play type of thing. I think it will take a little bit of tinkering and some trial and error to get your maps and everything working just right. The sweeping module is a really cool concept. Again, doesn't work really well for my backyard. I guess I just have too much dirt and stuff like that in the backyard. It's something I can see using in the front yard when the leaves start to fall, so I'm really looking forward to testing that out some more in the fall. I'd love to see an option where you could send the mower to a specific spot on your map to begin mowing or sweeping, much like you can do with robot vacuums. I think that would be really nice, especially for the sweeping part. That's probably something they could add in a firmware update. So EcoFlow, if you're listening, we would love that feature in a future update. Now, this being my first robot mower, I did learn some things. I thought the mower was missing some areas or leaving like stripes and stuff in the front yard at times. I later found out that it just takes a few cuts for the entire yard to get properly cut. The small blades and electric battery just aren't going to cut the same as my old gas-powered push mower. But once you've had it cut a few times, from there you can just have it cut more often on automations and stuff like that and maintain the yard, which should be really easy to do. So my first ever experience with a robot lawnmower, it's not perfect, but I think that's mostly due to my imperfect yard. It has been doing much better in the front yard than in my backyard, but I'm still not super confident on leaving it completely unattended. Just afraid that it'll get stuck or maybe venture out into the road or something. I hope that doesn't happen. But if you have an imperfect yard, a robot mower might not be the best option for you. I think you'll probably have issues with any robot lawnmower in that case. If you do have a nice flat yard with good grass, you'll probably love this thing. I'm going to keep using this and really try to drill down my maps and the cutting schedule, especially for the front yard. And then once we get that update and I can add another mapping area, I'll add the backyard and start doing some more back there again. Be sure to follow me over on Instagram if you're not already, because I'll post some updates and more behind the scenes stuff like that over there. One thing I'd like to do, since there isn't any smart home integrations on this currently, is just to simply add an outdoor contact sensor on the mower and the charging base. That way I could create automations to like turn the lights green or something like that to let people in the house know that the mower is, out cutting grass in the yard. And if you'd like to see how I did weatherproof some inexpensive contact sensors to use outside for automations like that, check out this video right over here. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about this robot mower, or if you have any questions, is there anything I missed? Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.